This is going to be a short video. In this video, I want to talk about your villain and how to actually become him every single day. I feel like I've failed you guys, and this is such an obvious topic that I should have covered a long time ago. I've talked in other videos about your villain, meaning that your villain representing the absolute best version of yourself that you could realistically achieve. If tomorrow you wake up and you had the best day you possibly could have, the most productive, the most happy, the most efficient, the most charismatic day, that's your villain. Your villain is the version of you that is 10 times better than where you are right now, or the version that you could become if you were a little more disciplined, a little more focused, a little more charismatic, a little more energetic, if you put a little bit more effort into your life. But it's still vague, right? That's still kind of vague. And of course, we talk about the daily doc about putting the villain on paper and kind of mapping it out. But I feel like it needs to be more specific. So by the end of this video, it's going to be a short one. I want you to walk away with something actionable that you can do as an entrepreneur, as a person who wants to become mega successful, where you can actually tomorrow wake up and have it be way more productive. Okay. And it's going to be very simple. You want to map out the exact things that that version, your villain, would do every single day. Okay. So if you were the best version of yourself, map out on a piece of paper or on a Google Doc, what would that person, like, what would they actually do? And it's very simple. Like it's very simple. It's pretty much black and white. Did you do all these things? Yes or no. And then maybe you left out one or two. Like it happens. Sometimes you leave out one or two things. But generally, what are the 10 things, the 8 things, the 15 things, the 20 things that your villain would do every single day? And this is going to vary depending on your business model, like what you're aiming for in life, what your goals are. But for example, like let's just say that this villain wakes up at 7:30 a.m., gets 9 hours of sleep. Okay, that's going to be one thing. So either you did this or you didn't, right? And if you check off every single thing, this villain exercises every day, right? Maybe it's gym, maybe it's like calisthenics, maybe it's cardio, whatever. This guy, drinks green juice, right? Like a kale smoothie or just a green drink, whatever. This guy takes his vitamins. And this is very simple, guys. This is all very simple stuff. But compounding the 15, 20 things that the villain would do, this version of himself doesn't check social media. Maybe he does, but only past like 7 p.m., let's just say, right? So he's never checking during work times. This guy never checks his phone during work blocks. This person, I don't know, dopamine fasts till 7 p.m. If you know what that means, it basically means that you don't consume you don't watch YouTube, you don't watch TV, you don't like scroll social media while you're working because it triggers your dopamine and it kind of makes you tired and lethargic and not as motivated. Okay, so what are again? This is just pretty generic. It's nothing crazy here, but you can see like it's not one individual thing. It's the combination of all these things that are going to improve your focus. This person meditates, 10 minutes a day, right? So again, you either did these things or you didn't. What you want to do is because like becoming the best version of yourself, it's so grandiose. It's not tangible. It's not concrete. One of my clients we had this conversation about this and I was thinking, you know what, like you know what, you're right. Let's create an actionable, like, here's what you need to do every single day. And by the end of the day, you can check off, did you do all these things today? And if you didn't, well, can you still do them? Or if the day's over, what can you improve tomorrow? A lot of you guys, and I talk about beating your villain, okay? So I talk about, every single day, you're competing you versus you versus your villain, you versus who you could become, you versus your current life versus your dream life. Every single day, one or the other is going to win. Either your dream life is going to win and you're getting closer, or your current life is going to win and you're not getting closer, you're getting farther away. So who's winning, you or your dream life? You are your villain. And every single day, you want to give yourself a score. You want to track the score, and the first to 100 wins, okay? So meaning like, let's just say yesterday, were you the absolute most productive version that you could have been yesterday? If the answer is no, then your villain won. If the answer is yes, then you won. Okay, the first to win 100 wins. 100, because that's 100 days. And at that point, you're going to be extremely productive, where you enter what we call villain mode in our productivity tiers, okay? Again, I have videos on all these subjects if you're interested and you want to learn more. The point is, you want to have a system to become the best version of you that constantly kaizen, constantly improve, because you're going to fail. No one is like, we're not perfect, but the more we can get to that perfection mindset in our habits, in our daily routine, the better we can become. Okay. So again, I'm gonna write a few more things. Again, this is all very generic, but this version of himself, you know, dominates his calendar, right? Maybe he's I mean, meaning he's like a calendar Jedi, you know, calendar Jedi, meaning he tracks his time very well. He works with his calendar very efficiently. Let's say right now you don't work with your calendar efficiently, you kind of just do things as they come. Well, this version, like this person that day, that doesn't mean he wasn't flexible. It doesn't mean if something unexpected pop up, he freaks out. He just shifts around his calendar and he's always looking at his calendar. That's what that means. So by the end of the day, did you do that? Yes or no? Only you can determine what are the 15 or 20 things. There might be less, it might be 8 things. For example, right here, this version might need, minimum 4 hours of deep, uninterrupted work. Okay? And then you have noise canceling headphones. So by the end of and you can see like this all is stacking up now. This all, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, guys, in case you can't see that. But this all is stacking on top of each other. Again, this is just one day. This is gonna compound. If you can do that, which is again, it's nothing crazy either. But writing it down, what I'm saying is like when you take this grandiose vision of okay, beating your villain, becoming the best version of yourself, 100 days you have to win, and then you got to do that for 2 or 3 years. It's very daunting and it's very tempting to get frustrated. That's why we work with our clients, our productivity clients, and we work as accountability coaches to help them do that. You want to kind of like make it very simple. What are the things you need to do, doing them, and then checking it off. And if you did everything, congratulations, you won that day. Okay? And if you do that for the next 2-3 years, you're going to achieve everything you've ever wanted to achieve. It's very simple. Okay? This version, for example, learns for 1 hour. Again, it could be like books, reading, or maybe like hyper specific YouTube videos. And he schedules it in, for example. Okay? I don't know. Again, maybe this version of himself winds down, 1 hour before bed. So like no screens, no phone, whatever, And you write this down. By the end of the day, you can know, did you do these things or not? Like what things did you miss? And the idea is to do that. Like if you think to yourself, my villain, if I was the best version of myself, I would do these things this is just what I do, right? These are my habits, these are my standards. I wind down 1 hour before bed. You want to do this every single day. And you know what? Sometimes you might miss 1 or 2, whatever. But generally, the version that you think in the mental plane, you start to visualize that version of you. And now you're actually becoming that person. And you do it for 1 day. You do it for 2 days. The third day you fall off. You kind of miss a few. You lost the third. Now you're 2-1. You're winning. You're beating your villain, but it's 2-1. And then you win 3 days in a row. Now you're 5-1. Then your villain wins 1. Now you're 5-2. But you do this for 100 days, and all of a sudden, after that day 100, you won the competition. Guess what? You are a 10 times more productive, better version than the initial person that started this. Your business, as a result, has scaled tremendously because your focus, your energy, your willpower has gone absolutely through the roof. And again, you also want to write down like the bad habits that you currently do that this version doesn't do. So like, for example, very strict, diet. Let's just say lots of vegetables, no sugar, whatever you determine that to be. And if you approach the day, you did all of this, but then you had some donuts, well, guess what? You lost the day. And now you have something, but the good news is you have something to improve now. If you did all this crap here and you ate some donuts, this is going to be highlighted. And the next day you're going to feel the pain. You're going to be like, you know what? Now you do this again and you don't eat donuts and you grow. And you improve and you win that day. Okay? So you're very hyper aware and it's hyper specific, like what you need to do. Okay? And if you have bad diets, like let's say like you smoke a lot of weed, this version doesn't do that. Okay? This version's clean, right? And so you know exactly what you need to work on. You know what the standards are, and it becomes very simple because you don't want to think. You don't want to wake up and think, okay, how can I become the best version of myself today? You've already lost. It needs to be predetermined and pre-written. That's extremely important. That's how you're going to maximize every single day that you're on this planet. The other thing too, once you have all these things, it's very easy to check them off. You want to look at this every single day. The other thing too is what about their routine? And I've covered this. This is not new. I've covered this many times. But that version, the best version, what does their routine look like? And if I wake up tomorrow and I was the best version of myself, the version of myself that could easily achieve my goal, what would that routine look like? So if you're at 5K a month and you want to get to 30K a month, okay, what does the 30K a month version of myself, how does their schedule look like? And you want to have an element of realism to it, right? Because and it has to make sense for you, okay? Because not everybody has. Some people are huge early birds, some people are not. It just depends on. Some people have other roles, other responsibilities, other jobs. It just depends on if you were the best that you could be, and it's very personal. What would that look like? Okay, so again, maybe he wakes up at 6 a.m. and then from 6 to 8 he does deep work. From 8 to 9 he goes to the gym. From 9 to 11 he does something else. You want to write it out, and it's going to depend on every single person. Okay, so the point is that there should be some flexible structure to it, because depending on what line of work you're in, some line of work is very predictable. Like if you code or something like that, like you might not have to talk to people. There might not be a lot of variables in the day. So you can have a very strict schedule. Other industries are they're very meeting heavy, like sales. Like you're gonna have a lot of things pop up that are unexpected. But you should have some aspect of the day that's still very much the same. Whether it's the morning or the evening, there's still some routine to it. So you want to write that down and have flexibility to it. Now, with this, it's very simple. Did you follow this routine or not to the best of your ability? It's pretty black and white. But this is even more black and white, because this is like, even though you had this crazy day, did you meditate? Did you still dopamine fast? It doesn't matter if you had a busy day or a not busy day. Did you do your dopamine fast till 7 p.m.? Right? Very simple. Did you check your phone during work blocks? Again, like to socialize or eat crap or anything like that. So that is how you become that version tomorrow, today. You write it down and you physically manifest it. You take it from the mental plane and then you bring it down into the physical realm, and you embody that person. A lot of people like changing their beliefs, and it's very difficult to do that. But if you do this, you don't have to say, make an affirmation, I'm a productive person. If you can do this, and you can do this for 14 days, for 15 days, you're naturally going to believe that. This is so, so, so important. This is what we do. This is what we help our clients with our accountability program. Every single day, you want to be able to look at your list, say, I did everything. And again, you don't want to write 100 things. You don't want to write 2 things. You want to make it good enough to where, yes, the best version of myself, I can see him clearly in my mind, what he or she looks like and how they're dominating their day every single day. So by the end of the day, and this is the crucial key part, did you do all those things? Yes or no? If you did all those things, again, the schedule, it's harder with the schedule, because sometimes depending on what line of work and business you're in, you might have a really great day, but your schedule you might not have followed it exactly. So that's a little more lenient, but this, of course, you want to do your best. You definitely want to write down the characteristics or what bad habits they avoid. By removing your bad habits, it's going to make you way more productive than adding new ones in. Potentially, right? Depending on what it is and what you're adding in. But for the most part, if you subtract, the worst, you're going to naturally rise if you subtract that. Okay? Guys, if you check this off every single day, you're on your way to becoming that best version. All what you need to do after that is continue to grow, continue to excel. Again, you don't want to approach the day as yourself. You don't want to approach the day as yourself. You want to approach the day as the version of you who you're becoming and the version of yourself that you want to be. Okay? Guys, if you do that and you stick to it for 6 months, a year, you're going to make 5 times more money, 10 times more money. If you become the best version of you, your financial goals are simply an afterthought. If you want to work with me personally or work with someone on my team, there's a free trial for our accountability services below. Click the link and we'll be helping you right away. I'll see you guys in a different video.